Good afternoon, everyone. This is Debra Vines, founder and executive director of The Answer Incorporated, and welcome to The Answer Incorporated show. We are so excited to be back. It's been a minute, but we are back to provide, to give you information over the airways with support, resources, education, recreation, and advocacy for families impacted by autism and developmental disorders. Just to remind you guys, we do have a call-in number at 312-738-1060, and that's 312-738-1060. You can call in with your questions and comments. But before we get to our special guest today, I have a few announcements that I want to give you guys. So on Saturday, March 24th, it's a parenting conference, and it is at ACCA. That's 16511 South Park Avenue in South Holland. It's going to be an array of information that's related to parenting. I'm actually going to be one of the presenters, and I think I'll be coming on at about 1:30. So the conference is from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m. So it's a conference that's all day long, and we're super excited about that because I think this is the organization's second parent conference. So I'm just honored to be one of the speakers for that. And on Monday, March 26th, is the Answer Incorporated's monthly support group meeting. And this is a co-ed support group that we have each and every month on the fourth Monday of each month, and it starts at 6:30 to 8 at 7640 West Jackson Boulevard in Forest Park. And you can actually bring your children with you. We have professional respite care. We feed you dinner. And it's going to be, I think our topic for this month is going to be on mindfulness. So at the same time that you're getting information for your children, you should also have information to keep you whole and healthy to be able to take care of your child. So April is Autism Awareness Month. I don't know what you guys are doing for Autism Awareness Month, but we have a lot of things going on for the month of April, and I'm super excited about them. But I'm going to share some things with you right now, and everything else will be on our website, theanswerinc.org. So on April 14th, Chicagoland Autism Connection is having their annual Spring Fling for Autism. Now, this event is, I think, their 15th or 16th year, and they have an array of vendors. They have an array of breakout sessions at this event, and it is from 9 a.m. until 12. It's going to be at 3939 West 79th Street, and everything that I'm telling you guys today is going to be on the Answer Incorporated's website in the morning. So I just wanted to make sure that I verbally articulated it to you so that you can go to the website and visit. Our next resource is Autism Active, which is held by an organization called A Place for Me, Elaine Reeves Haywood, and it's a fitness party. So that's going to be on May 14th at 6 p.m. So on May 1st, super excited to announce that the Answer Incorporated is expanding our services to Richton Park. So not only do we service Chicagoland for the Proviso Township, we will be in the south suburbs as well. And that would be from 6:30 until 8 p.m. at the Richton Park Community Center. More information will be given to you soon about that. And last but not least, our Open Your Heart to Autism Walkathon is going to be on May 5th at Proviso West High School. We actually have, this is our 10th annual Walkathon, Walking for Autism. Our theme is Open Your Heart to Autism, and we raise money for this event to sponsor children and adults with autism aged 7 to 50 to horseback riding camp for an entire week. Now, I'm sorry to say that the first week, which is the adult week, aged 21 to 50, is closed. I tried to tell you parents to get your applications in. I tried to tell you, get your applications in, but you wouldn't listen. You have to get your applications in January, and it just closed yesterday. So they only have like 75 slots to fill, maybe 100 at the most. But as soon as I tell you, get your applications out, get them filled out and send them in. This is something I've been doing for about 11 years. I think this is the 11th year we've been sponsoring Kids to Camp. So when I tell you, get your applications in, get your applications in. But the good news is that they do have some slots available from age 7 to 21, and that's the second week. So it starts from, I think, June 10th to June 15th. Give us a call at 708-296-5651, and here's our information. The Answer Incorporated, 708-296-5651. Our website is theanswerinc.org. Again, 708 2965651, theanswerinc.org. Our email address is theanswerincnfp@gmail.com. So again, just a recap real quick. Get your applications in for June 10th. You have to, we will sponsor you. So just give us a call. We're giving away sponsorships for your kid to be away for an entire week, for you to have a week of respite, and for your kid to be able to socialize with their peers for an entire week. It's so much fun. We have sponsored over 400 participants to go to this camp, and it's special camps with Colleen McDonald, and the camp I think is in Oregon, Illinois. Is in Oregon, and it's just absolutely beautiful. Horseback riding, swimming, an array of activities. They keep them busy from sun up to sundown. Dang, I'm telling you. So, without further ado, our special guest today is Ms. Dana Bryant. Dana is an IEP specialist with The Answer Incorporated, but not only that, she's an autism mom as well.
Yes, I am.
She's an autism mom, has a beautiful, beautiful little girl. I fell in love with her the first time that I saw her, and we are so honored to have Dana on our team as an IEP specialist because, and I'm going to let her go into it, but IEPs are it's so important that parents are educated on the IEP process, and I've talked about this on Facebook Live. I've talked about this with parents individually, and I can't talk about it enough because the sooner that you know your child needs an IEP and the more educated as you get on the IEP, you will be able to just be a superwoman or super parent when you go into the IEP. So Dana, first of all, I want you to explain to our audience what is an IEP.
So an IEP is an individual education plan that maps out a strategy for teaching your child if they have challenges staying on the grade level in which they are on. Mm-hmm. And so my story starts out with my daughter was diagnosed at the age of 3 years old with autism. Mm-hmm. And at that time, they immediately bombarded me with different resources, and I had to sift through. And the first thing that they told me to do was to get an IEP. At that time, never having a child with autism.
It was just totally oblivious.
Yes, it was. I had no idea what an IEP was, what it was for, and for a 3-year-old and not to be in school. I didn't even know that she could get an IEP. So once I found out about receiving an IEP, I went ahead to try to navigate the process. And needless to say, that process was very tedious. Mm-hmm. It was very emotional. And I had an all-time hard time navigating the process.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to stop you right there, and especially since you are a parent. And I like to keep everything so transparent and actually just down to layman terms when I'm talking to parents, because you are a specialist, but you also a mom, so that makes you double-breasted.
Yes, it does.
So when you talk to your parents, and you being a parent, what would be your advice to a parent that teacher calls and says, come in, we think your child needs an IEP? What would be your advice?
Well, the first advice that I would give is I would tell someone to take an advocate with you. Mm-hmm. That is one of the most important things, because a lot of times an advocate can see the things that you are not seeing.
It's like going to court without an attorney.
That's right. Okay. It's also like going to court without an attorney, but also sometimes you get emotional and overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And so you need someone to help you to level out. Mm-hmm. Someone to help you think about the things that you're not thinking of, that knows your child and what they're capable of. And sometimes these IEP rooms can be very overwhelming. You are the only person there advocating for your child, and you have a team of specialists. And
what specialists are there?
So I am speaking from personal experience. It could be a different array of specialists depending on what services that your child or children are receiving. It could be a speech therapist, an occupational therapist, a psychologist, a special education coordinator. It can even be several special education coordinators. They will also bring in speech therapists, OT, and any other services that your child is receiving. However, my child was receiving outsourced services. Mm-hmm. And my first IEP, they told me I couldn't bring anybody. And that's just very incorrect. That's just not true. You can bring as many people as you like.
Now, you know what? I'm so glad to hear you expound about having outsource services, because a lot of families that I've serviced is under the impression that you have to have the services that are in-house. So you can actually get services outside of the school.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
So most insurances, especially with an autism diagnosis or a developmental delay, they will cover, Blue Cross Blue Shield especially, but they will cover all services related to an autism diagnosis or even a speech delay.
Okay, so what if because I've had a lot of families call me and say that their insurance company said no. What if, I mean, is there any particular language that you need to use with your insurance carrier saying, or is this something that has to be written within the IEP for your insurance company to cover this?
So the specialists actually they know what language to use.
Okay,
But
so your specialist has to reach out to the insurance company.
The specialist they
Gotcha.
have specific language that they use, and an autism diagnosis is particularly covered.
Okay, so listeners, and this is just something I just learned. Make sure that your specialist within your IEP team, and if it's an outside service that you want to use, and you have to have insurance first of all, make sure that your specialist calls your insurance carrier to tell them that you need this service, okay?
Yes, and so you have a number of services that are approved at 100%.
You know, and one thing I want to tell the listening audience is that, you know, we're not just speaking about autistic children, because autistic children aren't the only one that have IEPs. IEPs are for children that have learning disabilities,
Yes.
Developmental disabilities across the board. And some children that have developmental disabilities do not have an IEP.
That's right.
So, but we just want to make sure if your child does have an IEP that you're educated. So
That's
go ahead.
correct.
So should let me go to my notes. So we talked about bringing an advocate. Now, does this advocate have to be a professional?
No, the advocate does not have to be a professional. The advocate can be anyone that you feel is capable of expressing the concerns and the needs of your child, or even just to inform this team of panels things about the nature and behavior of your child.
I know that IEPs, you know, when you look at this big, thick document, because the document is a legal document.
Yes, it is.
And when you look at this document, it can be a little bit intimidating. What would you suggest to the families on going through the IEP tooth and nail? How would you suggest them? I mean, first of all, it's asking questions. I know it's asking questions because sometimes, you know, before I got really versed in reading IEPs and things like that, it was very intimidating to me. So what suggestion would you give a family that is looking at an IEP and it's like looking at a French book to them?
So the advice that I would give to a family member is make sure you have enough time. You know, don't rush yourself in reading an IEP, because this is a legal document and they will hold you to what is in this document. The second thing that I would say was to get a highlighter and highlight the things that you have questions about, that you have concerns, the things that you feel just do not apply or may apply but you would like to change. So in those things you will highlight them and then contact the IEP coordinator, whether it's to get another meeting to discuss those things or to have them change. And then also have another notebook to write down your questions, or even write them on the side of the IEP so that you will know exactly what you want to ask, who you need to speak with regarding it.
So, you know, I know that supporting IEP goals at home is almost like doing homework with your kids.
Yes,
you know,
it
and
is.
a lot of times, you know, we as special needs parents, all of us just get totally bombarded with, you know, doctor's appointments and, you know, especially when you have a child that's low functioning and just staying on top of things, having school when they get out of school. But what would you suggest to a parent if it looks like their child is kind of meeting benchmarks earlier than anticipated? What would you suggest to that parent? Is it a way that they can have another IEP earlier to change the IEP? Or a lot of parents, I have parents that say, I don't want my child to have an IEP no more because I think my child is going to have a stigma, or is going to be labeled because they have IEP.
Right.
What would be your suggestion for that?
Well, the first suggestion I would have is to put down the stigma. The stigma, if your child needs services and your child needs help, it's best to have the help than to be worried about the stigma. Because we're not worried about the help. What we're worried about is the best interest of our children.
Absolutely.
And if there are changes that need to be made to an IEP, you can speak with a coordinator at any time and ask to convene a meeting to get changes put into the IEP or to have things taken out.
So I'm glad that you said that, because a lot of times I've had parents call and they said that the educator said, well, you have to wait until their 6-month IEP. Is it a such thing as an emergency IEP?
Well, it's not necessarily emergency IEP, but it's some things, it will be things that we like to get into and change. So the terminology that they use is that we would like to change the IEP, or there's something that is no longer relevant, and you can call a meeting at any time. Now the trick to that is to getting the team to be available.
Yes, yes, yes. So
That is the
just to let you guys know, you can call in at 312-738-1060 and ask myself or Ms. Bryant a question as it relates to IEPs. One more question. I think we have room for a couple of more questions. So, say for instance, if you want to change your child's school, it's been, and that happens. Oh, we have a caller. Caller, hello?
Hi, yes, I have a question about the IEP. My nephew is in an integrated in IEP. So do you think these programs are designed to prevent bullying in schools in the future?
Dana?
So, caller, as you stated, I don't believe that the IEPs are specifically designed to address bullying. The things that the IEPs are designed are to help the children as far as their education. But as far as bullying, what they will have to do is teach self-advocacy skills to the child, that when they come across a bully, that they are able to stand up for themselves. Now, you can try to incorporate that into your IEP, the skills that will give your child a voice and the language and tools to be able to combat a bullying situation.
Well, and speaking of bullying, most schools now have policies as it relates to bullying, and that's just not with children with IEPs, that's across the board. So what you need to do is look into the school's policies and procedures and their rules as it relates to if your child is being bullied, and see who the bully is and make sure that you go to the school administrators and address it. Because all schools, not most schools, all schools have policies as it relates to bullying. I hope that answered your question. So moving right along, and as we come to almost the end of our program, I want to talk about going more into changing the IEPs, and if you feel like your child is ready for mainstreaming. Because it's a lot. I've been to some IEP meetings where the parents said, well, I don't feel like that my child should have an IEP anymore. They're doing better. Their math scores are up. They're not doing better with their behavior, but they're doing better academically. What would you suggest as it relates to academically versus behavior with an IEP? Would you suggest that the parent just, go through the process, trust the process? What do you suggest?
I would suggest that they remain on the IEP, because there is no problem in having an IEP opposed to not having an IEP. Because once they don't have one anymore, it's a little more challenging to get the services that they need. If the IEPs are outdated, we can always increase the goals or change the goals to affect the child and what their educational needs are.
I almost feel like an IEP is a playbook for a kid, and having an IEP is almost is special, because you have someone that's really paying attention to every tooth and nail of your kid's educational plan. So parents, I'm going to say, do not be ashamed just because your kid has an IEP, especially the ones that are functional. A lot of kids that are functional, I guess maybe sometimes they get bullied.
Yes.
Because their peers find out that they have an IEP, or parents might feel like they don't want their kids to have an IEP because they don't want the stigma. over their head. But I say that it's a blessing because you have so many individuals that's over your kids' educational plan, and you have the power to change something that's in writing, and they are not adhering to it. You have the power. The power is in the paper. So what about a parent that doesn't want to sign the IEP?
Well, a parent that doesn't want to sign an IEP doesn't have to sign an IEP. If they feel that the things that are inside of an IEP does not match the behaviors or the educational needs of their children, they just don't have to sign it. They can put down on there that I don't agree.
Absolutely. Okay, so to recap, is there anything you want to wrap up with?
In wrapping it up, I would advise if you have an IEP and you have, this is the end of the year, the IEPs are supposed to be in 100% compliance by end of the year, which means that your child is supposed to have their current IEP is supposed to be completed with their social evaluation, their educational evaluation, as well as the eligibility part of the IEP, which stipulates what services they are receive, how much they're to receive, and they are supposed to be completed before the end of the year. So if your IEP is not complete by now, or in school is over in June, and if they are not completed by now, I will contact the special education coordinator at your child's school to make sure that these IEPs are completed before the end of the year.
That's why I thought it was so important to, for our comeback show, because this is March,
Yes.
and school is almost over, and if your child is not meeting benchmarks and things aren't completed, not meeting goals, it's time to start having that conversation about the end of the year. So we're going to wrap up. So before we go off the air, I just want to reiterate our Walkathon. May 5th is our Walkathon, our 10th annual Open Your Heart to Autism Walkathon. Go to our website at www.theanswering.org. Sign up for your teams. You can upload your link with pictures, put your goal that you want to raise, and send it to all your friends. And also, this is the information for The Answer Incorporated, 708-296-5651. Please give us a call for all of your needs as it relates to autism or developmental disorders. And I want to thank you again, Ms. Dana Bryant, for coming on our show.
Well, thank you so much for
and
having
sharing
me.
so much about IEPs and just the families that you work with. Would you come back and visit with us again?
Yes, I will.
Well, we would definitely love to have you. And thank you so much for tuning in to the Answer Incorporated show. And we will see you again next month. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Answer Incorporated Autism Awareness and Support Agency. Again, our number is 708-296-5651, www.theanswerinc.org. Thank you. See you next month. Bye.